Dodgers or Blue Jays? It's like a grumble. It's not a trick question. Dodgers or Blue Jays? Everybody has a favorite. And what difference does it make? They are not our teams, amen? Although the Blue Jays are pretty close, right? And think about this for a moment. Like, whether it be the World Series or anything, we all pick favorites. Now, what's the criterion for a favorite? There's always criterion. Maybe you like the name. Maybe you like the uniform. Maybe you look better in the color. Maybe you just don't like the other team. But we all have favorites. We all pick favorites. Yes or yes? Yes. McDonald's or Burger King? McDonald's. They're both bad for you. But get the idea? No matter what your criterion, there's always a criterion, right? And we all pick favorites. Every parent will tell you that among their children, there are no favorites, amen? That's a bodacious lie. So how wonderful it should be in the very first words of our first reading today when we hear that God has no favorites. That God has no favorites. That God has no favorites. But what does that mean? It means that every one of us are God's favorites. Every one of us are God's favorites. Say it like you mean it. It's very comforting, very hopeful that God does not have favorites per se, because all of us are God's favorites. But let's take a step back. Just like every parent and every home, every now and then, each child needs a little bit more attention than the other. Amen? Amen. Something going on, something over the course of a lifetime, every child gets that little extra special. Yes or yes? And it's not because one is favored over the other. It's just given all things, every now and then, every parent needs to pour a little bit more attention into one over the other. Amen? Amen. And the same with God. So while it's fair to say that every single one of us are God's favorites, if you go through the scriptures today, you see how God takes care of some in moments of need. Go to the first reading today. When we are overwhelmed, pressed, or even ridiculed for the life of our faith, God steps in and takes care of us. Beautifully to the psalm today, the Lord hears the cry of the poor and the brokenhearted, and those who are really overwhelmed and struggling with life. Go to the second reading today. St. Paul, everybody else has abandoned him except for God. And go to the gospel today. God really loves an authentic, pure, humble heart. And in that moment of brokenness, oh God, have mercy on me, a sinner, God pours, if you will, special favor. Not because God has favorites, but just like every child in every family, there are moments that God steps in and pours, if you will, God's grace, God's favor, God's blessing. Those very same readings, though, tell us how we also can capture God's attention. Go to the first reading today. Those who serve God willingly, they are heard. Go to the second reading today. If you compete well, if you pour it all out for God, then God will give you everything back you need. Or again, go to the gospel today. The humble, gentle, pure hearts, those are the hearts that capture God's greatest attention and favor. And so while it's fair to say in the first reading today, God has no favorites, really what does it mean? That all of us are God's favorites. And that should be so comforting to every one of us. And if you unpack the readings in all of our moments of need, God will find a way to enter in and to take care of us in those moments of need that we will get, if you will, God's grace, God's favor. As you walk into the week, repeat after me. I am God's favorite. Say it like you mean it. I am God's favorite.
I am God's favorite.
Not in a boastful way, but in a comforting way. That God has so much care for each and every one of us, his children. Secondly, how do you show God that God is your favorite? Think about this for a moment. It's one thing that we are God's favorite. How do we show God that God is our favorite, our priority, our top concern? And again, the scriptures give us examples, right? Serving God willingly. Those are the voices that are heard. The Lord hears the cry of and the brokenhearted. When you feel like you are standing alone, then make sure you stand with God. How do you create the humble heart of prayer, turning to the Lord again and again? You are God's favorite. But how do we show that God, if you will, is our favorite, is our priority? And number 3, the Lord hears the cry of the Lord. And when we help the Lord, so to speak, take care of those in need, we are so close to God. So we are, in fact, collecting coats again, winter hats and gloves. Please, clean out your closets. If you've already cleaned them out, then invite your family members and neighbors. Gently use, especially kids, winter coats, hats, and gloves will be turned into a source of warmth and comfort for children in the city of Cleveland. Why? Because God has no favorites. More importantly, it's because we are God's favorites.